fine. This is your third unit, girls, Python third unit. I think you can connect to this unit better because you already have seen the concepts of functions. Maybe second unit is a bit new to you, but third unit, you already know the concept. Okay. So in functions, we'll be seeing for the functions and then declaration and definition of a function. And then we'll be seeing concept of how to call a function and return values from the function and pass by object reference, then formal and actual arguments, local and global variables, and recursive functions and lambda functions. Recursive functions and all that, you know, maybe you in your first unit of data structures, you might have worked with recursive functions, wherein towers of Hanoi and all that other recursive solutions you might have recursive programs you might have written for the towers of Hanoi and all that. Okay, so you know what is recursion. Calling a function again and again is called as a recursion, and you know what is meant by a function also. So the first part will move on quickly because you already know the concepts. Okay, so let me make it clear to you once again. Let me brush on with the concepts, and also these functions you have seen in C programming. So since you have studied in CTC this function, C programming, so I think this should be easy for you. Okay, so you'll be, I think you'll be grasping it much faster. So these are all the topics. There are 9 topics that we'll be discussing in the functions. Okay, so I'll show you each and every, I'll explain you each and every concept in detail now. Okay, coming to the first concept, introduction of the functions. So what is a function? So function is a block of organized and reusable program code that performs a single specific well-defined task. Okay. Um, so what is the purpose of the functions? Okay, so let us get into the introduction, and as we move on slide by slide, you will get into deeper explanation of the functions. Okay, so for now, what is a function? A function is a block means that some set of instructions or some set of statements. Okay, so these set of statements, you are organizing it. Okay, so you're putting it in some, organizing means that you're putting in some logical structure, you're putting in some logical order. Okay, what does it mean by a block of organized? A block of organized, block means some set of statements, some set of instructions, and these set of instructions you are organizing. Organizing means that you're putting in some logical structure, and then why you're putting them in some logical structure and making it a function or calling it a function is that you can reuse this set of instructions again and again. Okay, and each and every function will be having its own purpose. So that's why we are saying that the code is used to perform some specific well-defined task. Okay, say I want to add the numbers and I'm creating a function which will add 2 numbers. So the purpose of this function is to add 2 numbers. Okay, what is the purpose of the function? So it is defined, it is meant to add 2 numbers. Okay, I'm asking you, like, what is the purpose of len function? Okay, so len function is a built-in function. And what is the purpose of the len function? The purpose of the len function is take an argument. So it can be a list or anything, a dictionary or anything. What it is doing, it is counting the number of elements in the list or in a dictionary, and it is returning the value in terms of an integers. Okay, so which is having some well-defined task. You cannot use length for square rooting and all that. So length is used for only length, and which is used to count the numbers. And you cannot use this len function for doing something else. Okay, is subset of and all that. You cannot do that. So it is having its own specific task. What is the specific task? The specific task is that it will be finding out the number of elements in the list. Coming to the len function, because all that we have seen in the second unit pertaining to the data structures, lists or sets or whatever, so everything is a function. And we have seen, so far we have seen the built-in functions. Okay, so built-in functions that comes with the language itself. Like in C programming, you will be having this square root function, and then you are having this string length and string comparison functions. So all these functions are the built-in functions. Okay, so they'll be put in some packages, and you will be using, you will be including those packages in your program to use those functions. Okay, so for example, in C programming, you're saying math.h to use the square root function and all that. You will be including math.h. Okay, so in Java, you'll be importing. The same include, you will say import. Okay, in Python also, you'll say import. So in this way, like what we are doing is, we are actually using the built-in functions for a specific task, for obtaining results for a specific task. And it is used to do some single specific task. Okay, is the definition of a function clear to everyone in my class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Now, why we need functions, why we are actually using functions is, rather than writing, okay, so rather than writing a very lengthy code, okay, so which is having 100 or 200 lines, and these 200 and 300 lines that I'm talking about maybe contain some same repeated set of statements also, it can include, right? So say that I'm having the same set of instructions repeated 4 times in the entire program. Okay, in different places of the program. I'm saying that these 4 sets of statements have occurred in the same logical order they are. Okay, so the order of these 4 statements are also in the same order, and also they have repeated in different parts of the program. I'm not saying that one part of the program the steps are repeated one after the other. I'm saying that these 4 sets of statements are there in different parts of the program, and the same set of statements are there. Okay, so now what you can do is, you can actually make it a function, and you can call that function in these 4 lines, in these 4 places. Okay, so breaking up of the program. Now what happened is, when you are doing in this way, the number of lines that you have written also reduces. Okay, and also what you are doing, you are actually making your code more readable. Okay, so because you know specifically, you can look into the function, you'll know like this function is taking these arguments, okay, this is returning this one. So the readability of the code is also increased when you are using functions. And say that, and how many functions you can have for a program? You can have n number of functions. There can be many functions in your program. You can create any number of functions. Each and every function will be having its own code and its own purpose. And each and every function is individual of itself. It is atomic. Okay, it's not related to some other function, but it can use the code of the other function. You can call that function again in this function. That's a different story. But each and every function is having its own individual purpose. Okay, now coming to the other point. For example, you have gone to an ATM center. Okay, say you have gone to an ATM center. So you'll be having a screen over there, right? So is there any screen over there? You have
Yes,
gone to
ma'am.
an ATM. Yeah, what is there on the screen? What is there on the screen? So there is some home page displayed to you, and it says welcome to SBI or welcome to Indian Bank or whatever. And after you insert the card, what it will do? After inserting the card, so it's an interface, right? It's an user interface through which you are communicating to the program, right? So you're giving some
Yes,
instructions.
ma'am.
So through the interface, you're giving certain inputs to your program. So to access that interface, the first thing that you need to do is, it's an user interface. It's an user interface through which you will be communicating through your program. So what you will be doing here, you will be inserting your card. So what your card reader in the ATM will do, the card reader in the ATM will read all the card information. It will read your account number, it will read your name, everything it will read. It will process your card. Once it makes sure that the card is valid and all that, it will say like what are the operations that you want to perform. And on the screen, it will show you various operations. What are the operations that it is showing you? It will be showing you like balance inquiry, pin change, and it will be saying like, do you want to transfer the money or you want to withdraw the money? So all these are the operations that it is showing. Each and every operation, you can imagine that to be a function, which is having its own single specific task. If I say, if I'm clicking on pin change, the pin change will do only the pin change. It will not do the balance inquiry for you, right? Is the pin change, will the pin change do the balance inquiry for you? Will it navigate to the other function? or it will do
No,
only
ma'am.
the pin change?
It will do only pin change, ma'am.
It will do only pin change kadamma. So what if I'm doing balance inquiry? The balance inquiry will do only the balance inquiry. It will just show me what is the balance in my account, that's it. After that it will go back to the operations. So there is no interleaved actions. Okay, so there is no like one jumping from one function to the other. If it is written in the program, it jumps. If the function needs the code of another function, okay, well fine, it will show you that. Okay, but if it is not there, each and that's what I'm telling you, each and every operation here is an atomic operation, and it is a specific well defined task, and it is a single task. Okay, well fine. So is it clear to everyone what is a function?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Okay, so now let us look into the concept of calling a function. Okay, so how do you call a function? Now say here I'm having this main, you can say that this is the main, the left side block that I have given is the main. So inside that there are many number of lines of statements. So the dotted lines, individual lines are considered to be the statements. And somewhere around in the fifth statement of the code, okay, so I have written function function 1. Okay, so I said function 1. So what will happen now? The program is executing sequentially line by line. So the first line is executed, the second line is executed. So you can see this is the first line, this is the second line, this is the third line, this is the fourth line. After the fourth line, I have a function call over here. Okay, so as soon as I said function 1 and parentheses, this is called as a function call. Okay, so this is meant by function call. So the program control, what it will do is it will directly go to the function. Okay, so that's why I have given you an arrow mark here. So what happens? This is the program control. The program control directly goes to the function call. Okay, so as soon as there is a function call, the program control goes to the function. Okay, so that's why the control has come here. So what it will do, it will look into the function, execute all the statements inside the function. So these are all the statements inside the function. And after finishing the last line of the function, the program finished, right? The program executing this function is finished. Now what will happen is the control will now be transferred to the function back. Okay, so now here there are two functions. Okay, so I said this is the main and this is the function that is called. Okay, so the main function is called as the calling function, and the function 1 is called as the called function. Okay, so this is the function that I'm calling. Okay, so that's why this is called as the called function. Now the control will transfer from the called function to the calling function. Okay, where the control will be transferred? The control will be transferred to the immediate next line after the function call. So the control will come here, and the rest of the statements in the main have to execute, right? So there are still more statements. If this is the last statement in the main function, okay, this will end over here. But there are still more statements over here. There are some statements, 5 statements here after the function call. So after the function is executed, the control will come back to the immediate next statement after the function call, and those statements in the main will execute. Okay, right. Say around after some time, again I'm calling function 1. So again the same thing will repeat. Okay, so the control will transfer to the function, and all the statements inside the function will execute, and the control will come back to the immediate next statement after the function call and resume its execution in the main method. Okay, so this is what will happen. Okay, so here we have seen 2 points now. Okay, so what are the 2 points? The 2 points are what is meant by a called function and what is meant by a calling function. Okay, so what is meant by a called function? The function that is called as the called function. So you can see that function 1 is called. Okay, so function 1 is the called function. And this function on the left side, okay, so from where we are calling the function is called as the calling function. Okay, is the called and calling clear to my class? Is it clear to my class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Now let us look into another scenario where there are many function calls, and this is totally valid. And okay, so I have a function which is function 1, and there is some code over here. I'm having 4 functions. Okay, so just imagine, like, say I'm having 4 functions in a program. Okay, in a single program I'm talking about. And you can also call functions from other programs also. We'll look all that concepts later. But say that I'm having 4 functions in the same program. Function is function 1, second is function 2, third is function 3, and fourth is function 4. And inside function 1, I have made a call to function 2. What will happen? The control will transfer to the function 2. When I say function 2, so I called the function 2. So what happens? The control went to function 2. So inside the function 2, you can see that after the first line, I made a call to the function 3. So what will execute now? So this will be the one which will execute next. So now the control is transferred to function 3. So inside the function 3, in the second statement or whatever, I have written function 4. So what will happen? The control will transfer to the function 4. So the function 4 will execute to the fullest. And what it will do, it will come back to the immediate next statement of its calling function. So what is its calling function? Its calling function is function 3. So the control will come here and execute all of the rest of the statements in function 3. And now after finishing function 3, the control will return to its calling function. So what is its calling function? Third, function 3's calling function is function 2. So what will happen? It will return the control through the next statement after the function call in the function 2. So it will execute all the rest of the statements, remaining statements in function 2. And after finishing all the statements in function 2, the control will now resume back to function 1 to the immediate next statement after the function call. And again, now what will happen? The rest of the statements in function 1 will execute. After finishing all the statements in function 1, it will resume back to the main. Okay, so these are the this is the control flow. Okay, so what I'm showing you is the control flow. When you're having many calls, okay, so a function is calling another function and that function is calling another function. Okay, so a function calling another function. So multiple functions are here and each and everything is calling the other function. So we just need to understand the flow of the control over here. So I think you understood how the control flows from one function to the other. Everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So since you have understood this and the time is also up, I'll close my session now and we'll continue in tomorrow's class.